I'd like to introduce myself. I've called myself the U-turn doctor. One, because I'm still on it, but I have made the biggest U-turn in my life for my mental health. Probably everything, my whole life. And I am a doctor, but with a PhD, doctorate, not a medical doctor. So I'm not here to give advice on medications or your treatment. You need to seek medical help about that. I'm not here to tell you to stop seeing your psychologist and your psychiatrist. You do what you need to do. I'm definitely not telling you to stop taking your medications. You do what you need to do, and what you're instructed to do. What I'm here to tell you is, and well, not tell you, I just want to make sure that you know that you're not alone. And like those are you okay days, I know they mean nothing. If you ask someone if they're okay, of course they're saying they're okay. Even if I've said I'm okay and then I've done something quite silly, you're not okay. Have you ever felt like you cannot breathe? Even though anatomically it works, but you feel like you just can't breathe? Have you ever felt like someone's strangling you, like the knot in your throat feels like there is a huge rope around you and nothing is reducing that? Or that your stomach insides are being ripped out from, they would say anxiety. Or there's a brick on your head, in your head. Literally, it feels like a brick that's on your head. An elephant's on your chest. Feel like there's no words to describe that feeling when you just cannot cope anymore, and all your support systems around you, and that tick box that says, of course you're okay, and you're going to be okay tomorrow, and there's so many things that should be on that tick box that say everything's going to be okay, but for right in that moment or leading up to it, these other feelings are worse. And I've been there. I've been through some shitty times, don't get me wrong. I mean, doing a PhD sounds like a first world problem, but it's like hell on earth. And going through a messy divorce and domestic violence, it's shitty. Like, just shitty. My best friend was my dad. Had no problems growing up, but he was my confidant. He really was my everything at the time, and then he died suddenly from cancer. This all happened like 10 years ago. Now, I'm almost 50. Not there yet, but I'm almost 50. So there's a period of my life that things happened, but it didn't cause me to feel like I couldn't breathe anymore. I didn't want to live, or these anxiety feelings were just too consuming to function. But something did happen. Going 6 years ago, a senior person at work did something to me really terrible that I thought my life was going to end, because I stood up for what I believed in, and I was right at the time. I was standing up as an advocate, but this went pear-shaped, and from that moment on, I experienced constant suicidal ideation and planning. What does that mean? I didn't want to live, or I was looking for a way out all the time, and I got a plan, and I have practiced that plan and failed, fortunately, quite a few times actually. And as a nurse, you'd think I'd probably have got that down pat if you understood a bit more about what that meant for me. But for some reason, I'm still here. And maybe it's to tell you this story. But for the last 6 years, I've spent getting up to half the year in and out of psychiatric hospitals. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I mean, they were the only place that could keep me safe. And I even did something silly while I was in hospital. And so, but I do feel that that's the safest place I could have been for me. And it's pretty embarrassing and vulnerable telling other people randomly about my story, but it's been shitty. And I've been on, at times, more than 40 medications a day, been slurring my words and sounded drunk at like 9 o'clock in the morning because of how unwell I am. And I'm super embarrassed about it. But I followed people's instructions and did what they said, but life got to a point where I couldn't get out of bed, couldn't look after myself, and this wasn't that long ago. I wasn't eating properly, I lost a lot of weight, I planning more than I should, overthinking more than I should. I haven't been able to sleep. I have nightmares all the time, so I am on some of the worst medications for sleeping, or best for me, however you look at it. But what happened, it doesn't matter how much medications I was on, how many hospital treatments, how many medications, therapies I've done, nothing has worked. Like nothing. And I'm now treatment resistant, depression, major depressive, whatever, and anxiety, and list goes on. And in the last 6 years, with depression and anxiety, my body has literally fallen apart. My blood tests are awful. I've had so many operations. I mean, I've had parts of my lobe out because something's happened there, or my stomach removed, or parts of my organs removed, or just I have been unwell. Everything in your body starts to deteriorate when your mental health is not working. And if you aren't convinced, well, stay tuned, I'll share a little bit more. But the story is 6 years ago, a critical incident happened, and I've been wanting to die ever since. And then my mum got cancer, and I love my mum incredibly, and I'll share more about how amazing mum is. But she got cancer, and the last, let's go 6 months to a year, I was needing to go to her hospital appointments. She really struggled to go on her own. There was no one else to go with her, and so I started having to get up out of bed when I hadn't showered for weeks and weeks, or hadn't put a pair of actual clothes on for ages, and I was having to get to appointments, and I would find I'd deteriorate quite a lot in the next few days. It was just after those it was really hard. But then Mum really deteriorated, and she had to go to hospital. And I don't know about you and where you live, but in Australia it's a pretty good health system. However, I wouldn't trust anyone I wouldn't let anyone I love be in a hospital bed on their own, because the system just makes mistakes and they don't communicate. And I needed to be there. There were so many errors and miscommunications, and Mum was not coping. And for whatever reason, she was very manipulative to keep me there, I can tell you. But for just over 21 days, I needed to almost live at the hospital. I came home late at night, came back in the morning. Sometimes I was able to get out for a few hours when friends would come over and sit with Mum. I was very fortunate for that. But let's go, that 21-day habit thing actually might have something to it. So what happened was I started to have to get up every morning at 4:30 in the morning. Without thinking, I had to habit stack. I had to get up, open the blinds, get dressed, have a shower, brush my teeth, get dressed, drive somewhere, well, let's go, it's a stretch to say you're sociable, but I had to communicate with the healthcare team and mum. And for 21 days almost, I had to do that for a solid few hours, 12 hours every day. I'd come home exhausted, but it was literally like just fall asleep and do it again on repeat. I even on days where I tried to get out of it, something would happen and the nurse would have to ring me and say, "Can you come and see your mum? She's really needs you." And I think that really made a big difference. I know it does. There's a lot of theory on habit stacking. There's a lot of theory on repetition and just doing. But I had to make a major change. And then I knew I wasn't going to do well when Mum did die a few months ago now, and went into hospital. And the nurses really helped me, and the doctors, to keep that habit stacking kind of going. We didn't realize it was really so important at the time, but we added some gym, and eating got better, and movement got better. And that helped me get through the funeral and cope with everything else. But I was in hospital, and I know I'm getting to a point, so I apologize. But I was in hospital, and a nurse asked me, "Well, what does life look like now? You don't have your mum, you don't have your dad. My children are a lot older now and don't need me around all the time. I haven't been able to work for quite a long time. And what do I do?" And it really got me into a kind of a deep hole, I guess. And the nurse said, "How about just imagine what could you do? Like, no limits, what could you do?" Well, here's where I have to tell you a story very quickly. Up until at that moment, about 2 or 3 weeks before this conversation, these beautiful friends of Mum's, Mum rode a motorbike. She learned when she was 70, she died when she was 76. And she learned to ride a motorbike, and she had some amazing friends. They even bought her bike, and 50 of them turned up the week before she died in the palliative care unit and bought her bike. It was just incredible, these friends and her. And she learnt to ride when she was 70. But I couldn't even sit next to her bike. I hated motorbikes that much. Hated. I couldn't even sit on one for a photo. Couldn't even lean against one for the photo. That's how much I hated motorbikes. It's just that there's not four metal things around you. There's not a frame around you. There's 2 wheels, not 4. There are stupid idiots in our world. Like, I knew I was a terrible driver. And what I did was driving, let alone what I saw other people driving. Being in a motorbike just sounded like the most stupid thing in the world, and I hated them. Hated. Even if you met any of these friends of mine, they will attest to the fact that there was no way in the world they thought I'd ever sit on a motorbike. Well, this conversation with the nurse led me to decide I was going to do a few things, and one of those things was to get a motorbike. And here I am, a few weeks later. I've got my P's, and we're here. And there's a whole big story in between that to how I got from couldn't get out of bed, in hospital, psychiatric admission, doesn't get much worse, Mum just died, nothing left in my life to live for, aside from my children. And a few months later, I am now riding a motorbike, and it is the best thing in the world. My life has never been better. So I'm the U-turn doctor. Please like and follow below. I would love to take you on a journey to show you how this really happened, because I think it's possible for every single person to do a U-turn in their life right now and start. And the first thing I would say is think about what is impossible. What would you want to do if you could? Despite your head thinking and your overthinking and how depressed you feel, tell me one thing that you would want to do in your life that you just haven't done. Talk to you soon. Bye.